It's KTN Sunrise Live, and would we like to quickly delve into the biometric voter registration exercise that was kicked off on Monday, the 19th of November 2012 at the KICC, launched by President Mwai Kibaki himself. And would like to know from you, as so many Kenyans have, gone to these different polling stations, I beg your pardon, the different stations in the counties to have themselves registered for the next elections. And Kenyans have streamed into the registration centers as the much publicized electronic voter registration targeting about 18 million registered voters, kicked off on Monday. And since Monday, we've been having, quite a number of people leaving their comments on what it's like in the different, registration centers, and also letting us know exactly how the progress is going, with the new technology of biometric voter registration kits in the country. And, of course, there's an issue of the fact that it's a new technology, and therefore people need to be aware of exactly how it works. And well, we would like to know from you, in case you are in the various counties, not only in Nairobi, would like to know how the progress is going all across the 47 counties. So wherever it is that you are, you can share with us what the experience is like. And if there are any, hitches here and there, you can also share with us both on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is KTN Kenya, or at KTN Kenya, and on Facebook, KTN Kenya as well. And with me in the studio this morning is a political analyst for the Standard paper, as well as the online department of the Standard paper as well, and the Standard Group, that is David Ohito, who is here to share with us more on the biometric voter registration in Kenya. Good morning.
Morning, Jen.
Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
Now, let's get straight to it. What do you make of the whole biometric voter registration exercise?
I think the biometric voter registration was a very well-meaning and well-intended system of capturing data of voters and having a database of all eligible voters put together in a way that would eliminate the challenges that Kenya has experienced before, like ghost voters coming, dead voters coming to appear on the polling date. But it has run into a few challenges which we expect IEBC to address, because it's eating up on the 30-day limit for registration which they issued. So it's a challenge. Basically, the problem has been software reporting from all over the country, where software has failed, the passwords are not working, and the registration clerks are in a dilemma. Our survey indicated that a number of those kits were recalled to the nearest stations so that the IT experts could look at them again. But this is a major challenge that means IEBC has to extend that deadline one way or the other.
Well, President Kibaki himself said that those of them who think that there's going to be an extension of the deadline might actually have gotten it wrong, because he said it's only going to be 1 month and no more, no less than 1 month. So if we are looking at all these technical hitches and, affecting the entire registration process, what is this going to mean for the rest of the country?
Well, he spoke as head of state, perhaps after being briefed by his officers on ground. But his officers themselves had not gone the extra mile to test these kits, that could they really stand the test of day-long registrations on a daily basis. He himself had to register twice, to take the process twice, because the first moment it failed to capture his records of the fingerprints. So I think there's no way out, and IEBC must find a way how they will recover time. Unless they tell us they're going to register people at night, but until the software and the kits really perform excellently in the registration centers, it's almost impossible. For 2 days, the first day there were delays, setting it up, and the first registration took place around midday, so we lost half the day. Yesterday there was the reports that the kits cocked up and failed to work. So how are we going to account for those 2 days? So until IEBC assures all Kenyans that this exercise will be done in an efficient manner, and all who qualify to register will not be turned away within the period. Or
Have you registered yet?
No, I'm not yet registered. I'm still weighing out where good candidates are so that I go and register there.
Oh, really?
Sure.
Okay. Now, when it comes to issues of registration, I'm sure very many people are so reluctant, especially, and you would actually blame it on most of people who are maybe working during the daytime, so they barely have time to go and queue up and have themselves registered. But considering it's a biometric, system that we're using here, I don't think it's going to take no more than 5 minutes if we are going to have these registration clerks doing their job up to beat and on time and according to schedule. But then the problem that we're having right now is a middle class that might not have time to go register. How best do you think this can be addressed?
I think there's a lot of time. These stations open up a little early, and the officers are also very understanding, the registration clerks. There's the lunch hour period which you can rush to the nearest station and register, and 30 days is a lot of time.
But there have been issues of low registration turn-up in some of the counties, and this is basically being associated to the fact that people are not used to this technology, and some of them are having the funny perception that, look, I think these people are taking our fingerprints for all different reasons. So, the perception and the awareness, do you think that the IEBC has done enough in terms of awareness and the new system of registration?
I think the timing has been a challenge, the arrival of the kids themselves coming late, later than was expected before. But I think we can still register enough people. Let's not wish away the efforts IEBC has tried to put in place. There's a lot of civic education going on by interested parties, NGOs, civic organizations. The media, I must thank all media are doing a pretty good job. All radio stations, TV stations, newspapers really whipping up support for voter registration. But Kenyans have a culture of waiting until the last minute again. We hope when they wait for the last minute, it will not have the numerous challenges we've had in the first 2 days, 3 days today. But I believe IBC means well, and this can go a long way in trying to capture all the people who are qualified to be registered as voters. The challenge also has been on the front of insecurity. Various parts of the country have been subjected to insecurity and violence, as we witnessed in Garissa the whole of yesterday. So no registration of voters took place in Garissa, for example, and that is trying to disenfranchise those who qualify to be voters. And I think we must find a way that when the violence finally dies down, then these people must be given the opportunity to register as voters.
Well, just to deviate from the registration issue, but yet again ask a question in this connection, do you think, because according to the Minister for Security, Internal Security, he says that, this whole insecurity is being politically instigated, just specifically to affect the polls come 2013. Do you think this is true?
I would want to believe that the Minister Ole Metito was informed by the good intelligence, as much as there's dying confidence in the intelligence system of the country. But that should not be the case. I think, why would somebody want to disturb just an exercise that happens once in 5 years? I think Kenyans have been waiting for the election. In any case, the regional calendar was for December 2012. So March gives them the extra few days to do campaigns or reorganize themselves. But it's really a big challenge. Insecurity remains a big challenge. It's being a combination of both cattle rustling and terror attacks now, as we witness in Italy. The KDF soldiers were killed in Garissa. Tana hasn't healed properly from the experiences it had. And the general insecurity all over the country, break-ins and so on.
Right.
So very strong signals for the juvenile minister, if you ask me.
Well, now let's get back to the issue of voter registration. Do you think that Kenyans really are so committed and are willing to register? Because some sections, you know, especially when you look at Nairobi, for instance, there are all these sections that are saying, you know, the voter registration is not exactly going to help us, because at the end of the day, there are all these kinds of polls that are putting specific candidates in specific positions, and or in top positions for that matter, and they actually think that already maybe the winner of the presidential polls has been determined even before we get to elections, and therefore some of them do not even see a need to go register as voters. What would you say to citizens as those?
I think they have the opportunity to roll back those figures they see from opinion polls. The act of casting your vote will eventually have a very important impact on the future of this country, on the leadership of this country. They are the only ones with the right to put people in offices, and it is time for them to turn out and register and elect the right people, people who they see can defend their interests, people who are patriotic enough to drive this country to the next level, people who can fight corruption, people who can address the needs of this country, address the question of unemployment, address the challenges we have in health sector, in infrastructure, for example. And that you can only do if you have registered as a voter. So the message which we are sending out as media houses, as people who have witnessed how leadership evolved, is that any person who really feels he is a Kenyan, he or she is a patriot enough, must register as a voter and cast their votes in favor of the good candidates that would take this country to the next level.
Right. In case you're watching us this morning, would like you to share with us your experience. Have you already registered as a voter, or are you yet to register as a voter? Are you in counties where there is low registration turn-up? Would also like to hear from you. Our SMS line is 8040. You can send those views through that SMS line. On Twitter at KTN Kenya, and on Facebook, KTN Kenya are the handles that you can use to share your views across. We're having someone called Kagame from Nakuru County who is saying voter registration is moving on well, no hiccups experienced, and the turnout is picking in moderate pace. But would also like to hear from you from wherever it is that you are, wherever it is that you had your registration. Would like to know what the progress is like out there on 8040. Now, as of Saturday, David, we had about 150,000 Kenyan citizens who had applied for identification cards and had not received them. And we also had about 322,000 uncollected identification cards. And we have how many days left? 27, to complete this whole voter registration exercise. And we're having all these numbers that are actually meant to be part of the 18 million voters that we're meant to have next year. Yet the reluctance to pick up identification cards still stands. What do you say about that?
Well, I think the Ministry of Immigration and Registration of Persons must really take a key role in trying to ensure that those who registered with them have their identity cards in good time, so that they are not disenfranchised when it comes to registration and the eventual casting of their votes. When people register as voters, they give a lot of details, and the ministry has very many officers on ground. There are very many structures which they can use to reach out to these people. They can do a lot of public barazas, by going to the locations where these people come from. So I really do not understand why they should be waiting for people to go and collect. If I was the minister and the PS in the registration of persons department, I would reach out, create a budget and send out officers to literally deliver these things in the nearest call points where people can access them easily. And registration today should be a little more, capturing more details like mobile phones and so on, so that you can even call these people and tell them, come on, pick up your registration cards. It's really a sad situation that the minister, the best, they say that we have these cards lying here instead of taking them to the people.
So you're faulting the ministry for not doing enough?
Yes, it's their duty to register people. It's their duty to ensure that those who have registered have their documents back with them. What are they keeping them for?
Okay, now let's talk about the technology and just about the so many thousands of clerks that we're having who are helping Kenyan citizens register. Do you think that there's been enough time to show them how this technology works? Because yes, we have been having delays on the second day into registration, but we cannot entirely blame it on the dysfunctioning of these machines. It could also partly be because some of the clerks do not know exactly how to operate them.
No, the systems are very user-friendly. You know, simply enter password, power it on, enter password, put on the fingers, they're scanned, and capturing it just by a touch of button. Anybody who got a D- can easily help in the registration exercise.
Right.
You don't need professors to do that. And in any case, Kenyans have really done pretty well in terms of education, and registering or capturing data, without writing them is even harder because you do misspellings and so on. But this exercise for me is an exercise we really need to support. We have to keep on urging Kenyans to turn out in large numbers. Look at it this way, that the registration clerks are saying, we have been waiting for people to come, they're coming slowly. So the question of whether the clerks are ready to do the job, I think, does not arise. Let's give IEBC the benefit of doubt that they have the right people chosen or picked up as clerks, and that they will really carry on this exercise within the stipulated time.
We're having Charles who is saying the BVR kids will register less than 10 million voters. We are not used to them. And, well, there are some Kenyans who actually are thinking in
for me,
this
it's
mode.
just an opinion now. How has he done his poll? How is he quantifying those who will be registered? And I think let's give it a chance, first of all, before we start faulting it.
Well, let's just give an example in regard to his opinion. Let's give an example. Picture a scenario where you're crossing a border and we still have these same, biometric kits even at the border, where you actually just go and enter your full fingerprints as well as your thumbprint. And they're actually meant to compare notes on whether exactly you are the right person that they're looking at. But even at these border points, when you're getting into another country or getting into Kenya, you'll find that sometimes it takes about 15 minutes on one, national or one foreigner. And this actually is the same thing that Kenyans might be going through, or the clerks, registration clerks might be going through as well. So I think the whole perception of 30 days here might not be working, especially with this new technology. And this might, in the long run, affect, the dates for elections, don't you think?
Well, you need to register within those 30 days, and we need another month or so to inspect the register, verify it, and share the register with interested stakeholders, the politicians themselves who are seeking offices, and that is a different exercise altogether. But the fact that people are not being turned away because it's time to close the registration station because the turnout is not very good, it shows that the clerks are out and doing a good job so far until they face the little software challenges to enter passwords and so on, which are not working. But we hope this will be resolved. We hope IEBC has backed up enough officers who can sort out the machines and restore the passwords to make the exercise carry on. The question of the length of time to register an individual, to capture the data manually, writing it in a book and verifying facts and figures, for me it's all technology. We must be alive to the fact that the country, the world is moving to the digital platforms, and we cannot run away from it.
Right.
Yeah, that is one of the surest way of ensuring that only those who qualify to be voters actually go to the polling stations and elect Kenyan leaders.
Now, there are people here, who are having all kinds of reactions towards the voter registration exercise. For instance, the last time there was a registration exercise in Kenya, some people could have been working in Mombasa or maybe in Kajiado, and now their workstations have been moved maybe to another part of the country, and then there are questions of whether they can actually switch where they will be casting their votes. I don't know if you're in position to actually help someone here. Someone is saying, I never missed voting in an election and I'm going to vote. I wish to vote in Busia, though I'm in Mombasa. Can I register in Mombasa and vote in Busia?
I think there's been a clarification there by IEBC that you can register in the point where you will expect to elect voters, the constituency where you will want to cast your ballot. And what we would urge him to do is to travel to Busia. There are weekends. He's not working 7 days, I don't believe so, 7 out of 7. He can travel to Busia, register as a voter, and wait for that opportune moment to elect the leader of his or her choice.
Someone is saying the guest's contribution is good, but does the nation have money to spend on lazy people collecting a ready identity card? Really? Because, you know, the ministry will do its best. Process your identification card on time. Should they go ahead and actually say, look, we are knocking on your doorstep, can we deliver your identification card? I think that is too much work expected from the ministry.
No, the ministry exists to serve people. They do not exist to enjoy the red carpet in their offices for the minister and the PS. You have people, you have vehicles. What is it that they are facing in terms of getting out to these sub-locations or locations or divisions and telling people, hey guys, we have ID cards, do you know so-and-so? Tell her that her card is lying in this office. There are ways in which they can communicate. If I was the minister, I would say, come on, if you are coming from Kisumu, tell every other person that we have this number of people who applied. And if you know them, tell them to come up and pick their cards.
Dawn is saying, I think it's the duty of the government to issue identification cards, but not the responsibility of the individual to collect them. Well, I do not know what I can add to this one. Chadi from Eastland, Jericho, Lumumba, you're saying my polling station in Lumumba Hall did not kick on the first day. What is going to be for the what is going to be for the first day which was lost? What is going to happen, I guess, for the first day which was lost? And someone here is asking, are registration clerks provided with lunch as they do not break? Wow, okay. Now we're having all kinds of mixed reactions, but would like to know how successful your registration exercise has been in the different counties where you're having your registration, and that is across all the 47 counties. Registration kicked off on Monday, and remember that your vote counts in the 2013 elections. So you do not register, you actually will not be among the people who will decide who your next leaders are going to be. Need we add that it's going to be a new system of governance, a devolved government, and therefore you need to participate in choosing who these leaders are going to be. David, let's talk about the role of political parties in encouraging voters out there to go and register. Do you think they have played their part well enough?
Well, political parties in Kenya are not very strong as desired. We cannot even compare all the parties in Kenya, for example, to South Africa's ANC, which has very organized ways of communicating with party members, mobilizing people. The best we have seen questions about the waiting cards, those who are registered but they have not had the identity cards processed. Quite a number of political leaders and parties have really come to challenge the Ministry of Registration again to fast-track the process of securing these identity cards. But we are also waiting to see the first party which will mobilize people to say, come on guys, these are your registration identity cards and so on. Go and pick them up and go and register as voters. There's been very good messages from the President, the Prime Minister, the Vice President, the Deputy Prime Ministers, Uhuru and Musalia, urging people to really turn out and register as voters and have the chance to elect leaders of their choices. So if you ask me, there's been very good mobilization at that political front. But I think this same message should be replicated across all parts of the country.
And how about the individual responsibility? If we are going to look at Kenyans, sometimes yesterday one of the ministers, the public health minister, was saying that Kenyans have a perception that everything should be the government's responsibility. And therefore, if everything is going to be government, it appears that most of the Kenyan citizens are not exactly going to take part unless the government tells them to. So when it comes to individual greater responsibility. How would you rate
I think
that?
it must be understood that the government includes the same person who put or who elected those individuals into office. So the era of looking at people as those who have been voted into office speak for the government and not them is long gone. They are the government because they're the ones who pay taxes within which make the government run, with which the government is run. And they must really understand that this government has been devolved, the power has been dispersed from Nairobi to the various counties, to the locational levels, and it is their chance to ensure that they become part of that government by electing people whose ideas resonate with them or who really stand for what their interests are. And they can only actively participate in the running of government by registering as voters, by casting their votes in favor of individuals who are credible and can run their affairs in a manner that meets the standards that have been set by the Constitution.
Right. Let's hear from some of the viewers here. Mwangi in Meru is saying some people say they missed the machines and were told that they are sharing with other stations. We need seriousness. No doubts should arise anywhere. This is a comment coming in from Meru, where maybe some of the registration centers did not get some of these kits, and therefore they are moved to different, locations there or different centers. This means that the process of registration is going to involve people traveling from this station that missed a registration kit and over to the next station. How is this going to affect the entire process?
There was expected that IEBC would gazette these polling stations and really publicize where the stations would be, because there are wards which have been merged and there's still a little confusion. And I know Hassan and his team must be listening to the voices of the people. 27 days is still a lot of time. What they need to issue is a statement that if this is your ward, these are the registration points, and they can do that by publicizing the info on newspapers, on radio stations, on TV stations, and by word of mouth, and mobilizing the local people that this is the nearest center where you can register if you're coming from this electoral ward. And beyond that also, I think we must really get into a little more civic education, because the representation has really changed. What used to be the councillor would now not be there. We have a fairly higher level of representation in the person of a county assembly representative, and this should really start coming out ahead of the general election, for example.
Someone is saying there are no clerks in many I guess he meant registration stations in Sirisia constituency, Bungoma County, and the BVR kits are insufficient because you can find one kit is being shared in 4 or 5 stations. There is a big problem here. And someone is saying here, the IEBC said it loaded the previous register that was used in the referendum in the BVR kits. How do I tell if I am not being registered twice? If the BVRs are networked, is there a possibility of the system being hacked? Dishon from Nairobi.
Yeah, there have been questions of the tests through which the systems and databases are being crafted on. But I think IBC must have really tested that. Kenya is not the first country to use BVR kits. So again, I do not want to be the public relations officer of IEBC, but we believe they are listening to the people. But the amount of comments you are receiving tells you how much interested Kenyans are in going to register, how much Kenyans are interested in running the political affairs of their country. So this is very good feedback, and it shows you people are really concerned about the voter registration exercise. There may be a few challenges here and there, but I think for me 27 days is a lot of time. The challenges can be surmounted, and let's register and vote for the people of our choices.
Now, we have Kenyans who are also thinking on the other side, and Lewis is saying, in my opinion right now, I won't be registering because I won't vote. Kenyan leadership doesn't address real issues, thus my life will remain the same. And we're having a Kenyan citizen living in Kenya and actually putting it quite straightforward. I'm not going to participate in the voting, process now.
Let me answer Himora in a very simple way, that even if you don't participate,
yes,
you are leaving that chance of having that bad leadership perpetuated. The only way you can stop bad leadership from getting into those elective positions is by registering as a voter and casting your vote for the right individual among the best candidates that will present themselves for election. So doing that, she's not even solving her own problem. Tell her she's only perpetuating her problem.
Well, you heard it, and we are actually sharing experiences from wherever it is that you have registered. As a voter, share with us the experience. How was it? How long did the whole process take? Because normally speaking, it would take about 5 minutes to have you registered for all the data to be incorporated into the system. But maybe in some areas, especially where people do not exactly understand the system, it might take between 10 to 15 minutes at most. But then we'd like you to share with us. Our SMS line is open, that is 8040. Share your experience with us 3 days down the road, or today being the third day. What has been your experience so far? And we're having Kai Emmanuel, who is about 25 years old. He's saying, I've applied for the identification card 5 times, but haven't received even one. What should I do so that I can vote?
Well, I
Very
think
devastated.
I think he should visit the nearest registration of persons' offices and see what really the challenge is. If the genuine concern can be addressed, then I think he should really have that chance to be registered. Maybe follow it up with the ministry headquarters and see what really the challenge has been.
David, as a tech survey analyst and as an online, editor for the Standard Group, you have vast knowledge in terms of technology. Let's look at the fact that in the year 2012, we are having biometric voter registration kits in Kenya. Do you think we were prepared for this technology in this day and age for the about 39 million or close to 41 million Kenyans so far?
The beauty with technology is that you never prepare for it. It is innovated, it is available to you, and then you have the experience of using it. And I will assure you that after this general election, March 4th, 2013, many more people will be saying, I think we started on the right note and let's move to the next level. There are questions of voter rigging, manipulation of voters' register. It does not happen with these technological databases. And that is the only opportunity for Kenyans really to embrace this technology and embrace the technology in many other fields, for example. If we embraced M-Pesa, which is more difficult to use, and every other person is using it, including those who are literate, those who are semi-literate, those who are illiterate, why can't we use the BVR kits? So, which you just need to thumb your way or fingerprint your way into the database. So, I think it's not really a valid argument that Kenya was prepared for this technology. It really does not apply. If we embraced M-Pesa, which other technology can't we embrace in any corner of this country?
Right.
We have to keep pace with the rest of the world.
But this comes in connection with the time limits, 30 days, which most people think is not actually good time enough, because we'll use an example of Ghana. Ghana had biometric voter registration kits as well, and their voter registration exercise took about 3 months. In Kenya, we think we can do all of this in 30 days.
That would have been the ideal case. Kenyans are smarter, they learn very fast, and I am a lot of confidence that they can do it. So you're saying people in the
western side of this continent actually could be slow pacers, and therefore maybe the adaptation to technology is slower.
Look at Kenya in all facets of even IT development. We are ranked second on Twitter.
Right.
We are ranked fifth on Facebook. And the pace at which Kenyans are embracing technology, is admirable. If you talk to Bitange Nemo, we are the hub of IT in this part of the world. So there is no question of running away from the fact. Ghana is so far away from us. We are smarter, we are better, and I know Kenyans can do it.
Oh my God,
And
we're
we'll
about
do
to
it.
receive SMSs from Ghanaians actually saying something to you. And we're having someone here. Please advise now that it's electronic. Does it matter where I register? Can I vote at a different station? Now that it's electronic, people are now wondering, can't I just register anywhere and say where I'm going to cast my vote? So it's entered into the system.
You can register within the constituency where you'll cast your vote, and then it's easier to pick out the ward within the database of the constituency. So I think they should just register. That should not be a challenge. But registering outside the same constituency, you may have a little challenges.
Bad governments are brought by those who do not vote. Register as a voter. It took me only 5 minutes at Nairobi West. You didn't leave your name, but we do appreciate that. And do you think that Kenyans who lost identity cards but have reapplied can be registered by the use of abstract or identity or ID photocopies as they await their cards? This is coming in from Jacob. And we're having one who is saying Kenyans had a lot of belief in the IEBC, but it has badly underperformed right from procurement, training clerks, network problems, registration period, you name it. This one is coming in from Juma from Changamwe. And we're having one who is saying here, registration in Kakamega County is going on well. I have registered and clerks here are doing a good job. Kudos. And we're also having another who is saying Kenyans should welcome a change. BVR kits save time. You didn't leave your names. And still on the question of Busia Mombasa, does it mean you are not networked? Don't you know traveling costs a lot of money? Time is not the problem, but money is the problem.
Very good comments. You see, the leaders, the guys who have gone to register are really urging people. They're champions of registration. And I think we need more of such people to really tell Kenyans, just 5 minutes, walk into the nearest station, pump and fingerprint your way into the database and wait for March 4th, 2013, and elect the leaders of your choice.
What is the best way that you would actually put out there? What is the message that you would put out there that maybe every other politician or, a standing political candidate should use as a message to encourage more Kenyans to go register and make sure that come 2013, they'll be able to vote accountable leaders who are going to be able to push the nation forward? What message would you pass on?
I think the message must be learned from history. That this country is 49 years today. It will be celebrating its silver jubilee next year when we vote also. So we have come a long way, 50 years as a country. And 2007 general election was a really bad moment for this country. Nobody wants their lives disrupted in that way. Nobody wants to see another set of IDPs chased away from or uprooted from their homes. Nobody wants to see violence, a Kenyan shedding blood just because of an election. So the best way they can do that is to just register as a voter. Let us campaign peacefully. Let us not embrace violence at all. And let us cast our vote for the best leader that can move this country to the next level. I think if every other politician would send that message, this country would be more beautiful than it is today.
And we'll wind up with 2 SMSs. I think we should register anywhere and vote to the place of our choice, since this is a new technology. And also we're having someone called Momanyi Kayole, who is saying, my opinion is that IEBC has done well, and this is the first time we are using BVR kits. Some of the minor challenges coming are due to perceptions. And well, we cannot go any further than this. We're out of time for today, but we expected to actually host guests from the IEBC. I think in one way or another, something could have come up and they weren't able to make it. And, David Ohito here was just analyzing what the IEBC, might need to do and what you as an individual need to do, the role that political parties have played or are meant to play and continue to play in ensuring that all Kenyans register for the coming elections. And if you are a very concerned citizen and you want accountable leaders, you want transparency, you want accountability, you want leaders who are going to develop this country, you need to participate in this registration exercise. Have yourself registered so your vote can count come the 2013 elections. Thank you very much, David Ohito, for coming to the studio. We appreciate, and the next time we'll probably concentrate more on technology, so that way we can know exactly what is going on here. But thank you all for watching and for joining us in this edition of KTN Sunrise Live. I'm Doreen Biira. For more contributions on the entire voter registration exercise and how it's going on, join us on Twitter at KTN Kenya or at Standard Kenya, that is on Twitter, that is for the newspaper. And also you can log on to our website ktnkenya.tv/news or standardmedia.co.ke. For now, God bless you and have a good day.